Ruth Powell, 42433, born in Boston, Mass.
Mm. And why are you here in Louisville, Kentucky now?
Well, I'm here because I'm with the American ex-prisoners of war, and my husband was a Korean POW, and so he does not travel. And I belong to the American. I have 3 positions in the organization.
What organization?
The American ex-prisoners of war.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm the NSO director.
Director.
Yeah.
You
also
you in charge of everything?
Of all NSOs throughout the country. And then I have a position at I am in the VA in Bedford, Mass. And I am a social worker. And I am the POW coordinator.
In the VA?
In the VA.
Wow.
Every VA has a POW coordinator, and I am the one in Bedford because I work there as a social worker.
And another position? And
also have a, in the American ex-prisoners of war, I have a position as the med-surg. Med-search.
What is that?
What we do is we look at all the problems of the POWs and all of the presumptives, like PTSD, and ischemic heart disease, and there's about 13 presumptives, and so we look at each one. We research to find out exactly what our POWs have suffered from, and so we do articles on it, and that's what I do.
Wow, this is very interesting. What is your husband's name?
John Powell.
John Powell.
Yeah.
And could you tell me a little bit about him? When did he go to Korea and when
he
was
went
captured?
to Korea in 49. He was captured in 50 and got out in 53.
Wow. Do you know where he was captured?
He was captured by the Chinese.
Chinese.
Yeah, in North Korea. That's when they came over the border. Surrounded the Americans, and he was captured. It seems like Kuna Reed is. That name seems to come into mind, but anyway, he was captured, and he was in Camp 3 and 5 in North Korea. He was with the 2nd Infantry Division, 82nd AA. They call it the
Armored Artillery?
AC. 82nd AC. That's what they called it. Division.
So, can you explain about how he captured and how he went through all these things? Do you know about the story?
Well, you got to understand one thing with him. First of all, when he came out of Korea, he was suffering from PTSD. He was very depressed, very depressed. He was young. We got married, and I used to take him to the VA. They had him on medication for depression.
When did you marry him?
54.
So after he came out of and released as POW, you married him.
Yeah, I knew him.
Did you know that? Did you know? Oh, you knew him before?
Yeah, there was a crowd of us. We all hung together,
Uh-huh.
and we all lived in the same neighborhood. And so I knew him.
Mm-hmm.
And so when he came home, you know, he come over to visit my family, and you know, we started dating. And he came out either September or October. I think it was September, and we were married in December.
Mm.
Um, it was not. It was not easy
From the very beginning?
from the very beginning, up to a certain point when he threw away the medication and said, "I'm fine," and he's been fine. Well, he's been fine ever since. What I did is I took him to a private psychiatrist, and he had 20 shock treatments because the doctor said if he ever relives his experience in that prison camp, he's going to completely have a nervous breakdown, and we don't know what we can do for him.
Hmm.
So they said the best thing to do is try to erase that from his mind, and they gave him 20 shock treatments. Well, that was fine. The shock treatments are great, but it made him forget all of his friends that he was in the camp with. He can't remember one friend.
What do you mean by shock treatment? What kind of treatment?
ECT. You know what ECT
I
is?
don't know.
Electric shock therapy. And it's funny you don't know what ECT is.
EST.
ECT.
Electric
shock therapy.
Yeah.
They do it and they're doing it today. They still do it. They do it for schizophrenia. They do it for all kinds of mental illnesses. Yeah, most of your hospitals, the VAs do it. It's what they do is they never, as I understand it, and I've never had it, but as I understand, they put electrodes on your head and they shock you.
Physically?
Yeah, they shock you.
Is it
and
painful?
some convulse, but they never know it because they knock them out, basically. And when they come out of it, they can't remember their address, their telephone numbers, or anything. That goes away very shortly after this. And they might have headaches right after the therapy. And that goes away. And then they seem to do much better. They do a lot better after the therapy.
Better from PTSD?
Yeah, yeah.
But
he still has it.
Did he forget all the memories about his POW camp?
Just about. He can remember little bits, little things. He remembers marching. He remembers someone saving his life. He remembers in the camp itself. He remembers how cold it was. He remembers burying people. He remembers working in going to the Yalu River and working there. And he got water in his ears, and they sent him to a hospital, sort of, and they ran wires into his ears, and what they did is they broke his eardrums, and so he gets a certain percentage for that, and but his ears are still bad, so he can't fly.
But so he remembered the fragments, but
he does. He remembers fragments.
What do you mean by he forgot everything?
He forgot his friends. There's a man that called us that saw his name in our bulletin, and he called the house and he said, "I've been looking for him." And I said, "Well, he's in bed. I'll tell him when he gets up tomorrow morning that you've been looking for him." And he said, "Well, is it all right if I call him?" And I said, "Fine." So the next morning I told him that so-and-so had called him. Al Connors was this man's name. And he said, "Well, who is he?" I said, he was a friend of yours in the camp. You were very close. He said, I don't know anyone by that name.
So he remember all this camp experience, how he was treated, how what weather was like, and he has sort of chronological memory, but he forgot only the names.
He forgot his friends.
Only the friends, but he remember everything else.
He can't tell you what the whole thing was.